English by the Nature Method by Arthur M. Jensen. Brought to you by Ayan Academy.
Chapter 52 English Holidays. It's been a long day today, Storm said, as he and Marshall left the office late one evening at the beginning of December. And a hard week too. I'm really feeling quite tired tonight. I wish I could take a few days off from work. 2 or 3 days complete rest, with nothing to do but read the papers and go for a walk now and then, is just what I need. My head feels quite empty. Are there any holidays between now and Christmas, I wonder? No, there aren't any till Christmas, Marshall replied. So you'll have to wait until then. It's a general rule at the office that nobody asks for days off during December, because we're always so busy during the weeks before Christmas. But I must say that generally December is not so busy as this year, so I'm looking forward to the Christmas holidays myself. We always have such a good time at Christmas. We make it a family affair, you know. My sister will be there for dinner on Christmas Day with her husband and her baby. It's a very long time since I saw them, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with them again and to having 2 whole days off from work. Only 2? Storm asked. In my country, we have 2.5, as all offices and shops generally closed about 12 o'clock on the 24th. No, we keep the usual closing hours on the day before Christmas. Marshall replied, The shops and streets will be full of people late in the afternoon. In front of the shop windows, there will be crowds of people looking at the different things shown in the windows. Everybody will want to see as much as possible, to help them to make the difficult last-minute decisions about Christmas presents for Uncle Fred or Aunt Jane. There will be children crying because they can't see anything, and mothers pushing them forward through the crowd, so that the little ones may get a chance to look at the fine things in the windows too. And everybody will be having a lovely time. I'm sorry Christmas is over so soon. Only 2 days. Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Boxing Day? What a strange name, Storm said. Yes, but it's easy to explain, Marshall replied. You see, on the 26th of December, the postman, the milkman, etc., used to come round to all the houses and get their Christmas boxes. They still come, but nowadays the presents no longer consist of real boxes with things in them, but instead they usually consist of a small amount of money. I see. Yes, that explains it, of course, Storm answered. Storm and Marshall had reached their bus now, and as they got on board, 2 ladies rose from their seats to get off when the bus stopped next time. One of them dropped her bag when she rose, and all the different objects in it with which women fill their bags fell out on the floor. Let me help you, said Storm, and began to pick up keys, coins, and a handkerchief from the floor. How kind of you! Thank you very much, she replied, hurrying after the other lady with her hands full of all sorts of strange objects, which she had no time to put back into the bag. This is almost too good to be true, Marshall said, as he made himself comfortable on the seat. I mean, to be able to sit down all the way home in an almost empty bus. The trips to and from the office generally consist of long half hours of standing on my feet, and other people standing on them too. On my feet, I mean. And if I do get a seat now and then, some old lady is sure to enter the bus, so that I have to rise and offer it to her. The perfect gentleman, aren't you? Storm said, smiling. Talking about gentlemen, I wonder if you can help me to come to a decision, he continued, pulling a small object out of his pocket. When Storm showed it to him, Marshall saw that it was a very small book of songs, in fine leather with gold letters printed on the back. I bought it some days ago for Marian, but then the thought came to me that perhaps she would think it foolish of me to give her a thing like that, and now I can't come to a decision whether to give it to her or not. I wouldn't like to look foolish in her eyes. To his surprise, Marshall seemed to think this very funny. Excuse me, old man, but I must laugh when I see your serious face. Of course you can give her the book. I'm really beginning to believe it's true what my mother says, that your head is filled with thoughts of that young lady. Just then the bus began moving forward quite suddenly, so that one of the passengers, a lady, who was ascending the stairs to the top of the bus, fell down, happily right into the arms of one of the other passengers, so that nothing serious happened. Everybody expected her to cry out, as women usually do, for the accident had not been without real danger. But as soon as she got on her feet again, she said, to everybody's surprise, "Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. I'm afraid I wasn't very careful, but thank God nothing happened to you." And then she rapidly ascended the stairs again. It's men and women like this lady who have helped to make our great British Empire. People who can keep their heads cool and think of others even in the face of danger, Marshall said. "You British and your empire," Storm replied. "You must indeed be proud of it. When a little thing like this can call up the thought of it. You even have an Empire Day, a sort of state holiday, I've read. I don't know what date it is, though. Is it soon?" he asked. "No, not until the 24th of May, the birthday of Queen Victoria. But we British are not so proud as you seem to think," Marshall answered. "You look as if you don't believe me," he continued, seeing the expression on Storm's face. "But I can almost prove it to you. We don't even keep our Empire Day as a real national holiday as they do in France, for instance, with everybody out in the streets, singing and dancing. We just send the children home from school after a little talk in the morning about the British Empire." "Well, perhaps you aren't as bad as I thought," Storm replied. "But tell me, now that we're talking about holidays, do you keep the same holidays as we do in my country, I wonder?" "Marshall, the great church holidays are the same, I suppose. Christmas, which the church tells us was the time of the birth of Christ, God's Son. That is to say, there is much discussion between the different religions about the true date of his birth. The Roman Catholic religion tells us it was at Christmas, and most Protestants do the same, while other Protestants say they can prove from the Bible that the birth of Christ took place in the autumn. I don't know whether the question has been settled, but I do know that few people at Christmas think of the account in the Bible of how Christ was sent from heaven to live upon this earth of ours and teach people about God and God's plans for men. What they think of for the most part is the good time they're going to have with their friends and family. Well, after Christmas comes Easter, Good Friday, when Christ died, Easter Sunday, when he rose from the grave, and Easter Monday. "Excuse my interrupting you in the middle of your account," Storm said. "Good Friday. What a strange name for the day on which Christ died." "Yes, isn't it? What about the New Year?" Storm asked. "You didn't mention it." "There's nothing much to tell about that," Marshall answered. "In Scotland they keep the 1st of January, but here shops, offices, etc. are all open. At the moment, we have a party on the 31st of December and dance into the New Year, or go out into the streets at 12 o'clock and say, 'Happy New Year' to complete strangers. Well, shall I continue my account of our holidays and get it over?" "Yes, please do," Storm replied. "I might as well use this half hour to learn something." "All right. 7 weeks after Easter is Whitsun, consisting of Whit Sunday and Whit Monday." "I should like to ask you something here," Storm interrupted again. "Don't you keep the day when Christ ascended to heaven as a holiday? I didn't hear you mention it." "It's not a general holiday, with the shops closed and so on," Marshall answered. "But we have a name for it, of course. Ascension Day, on which the churches hold special services for Christ's ascension to heaven." "Well, that is all very much like our holidays at home," Storm said. "Yes, but I'm not through yet. We have a holiday which I'm sure you haven't got," Marshall replied. "And it's all one that we all love and look forward to for weeks. It's called August Bank Holiday, and it's always on the first Monday in August. The weather is generally fine, and everybody has a lovely time. As a boy, I often went into the country on that day with my people, starting as soon as the sun had risen and returning in the evening very, very tired and very, very happy. We might as well have gone any other summer day during the school holidays, but it was always much more fun on that day because so many people were out." "Why is it called Bank Holiday?" Storm asked. "That needs a little explaining," Marshall replied. "We have 4 bank holidays. Boxing Day. Perhaps I should give them in their correct order. Easter Monday, Whit Monday, August Bank Holiday, and Boxing Day. The law of the country says that on these 4 days all banks must be closed, and as factories, shops, and offices then close too, those days have become general holidays. I see, said Storm, and I understand what you said about closing on the 3 weekdays following religious holidays. But I really find it a funny thought that your great British Parliament should have taken the trouble to discuss a question like the third holiday and make an Act of Parliament about it. But I suppose that if you had time to read through all the Acts of Parliament that make up the laws of the country, you would find many strange things. I'll tell you what I think, Marshall replied with a smile. I think that at the end of an extremely hot week once upon a time, some member of Parliament who perhaps was a bank manager thought to himself, how unpleasant to have to work in this heat, and how nice if one could get away from town for an extra day, at least once during the summer. One ought to suggest, next time Parliament sits, that all banks must close one Monday every summer. And so he did, and so it became an Act of Parliament, and so everybody was happy, as they say in the storybooks. As they rose to get off, Storm said with a laugh, "You would make a great teacher of history, I think. If there was something you didn't know, you would always be able to make up a fine story in no time." Exercise C. Grammar. Numerals are words like the following: 1, 4, 6, the first, the third, the sixth. There are 2 kinds of numerals, cardinals and ordinals. Of the examples mentioned, 1, 4, and 6 are cardinals, and the first, the third, and the sixth are ordinals. Cardinals are used to express the number of persons, animals, or things that we are speaking of. Examples: I have 13 shillings in my pocket. 9 men and 8 women are present. Ordinals show the order in which persons, animals, or things appear or happen. Examples: March is the 3rd month of the year. This is the 5th time I have had to close the door. Here are lists of cardinals and ordinals. By the help of these, you will be able to express any numeral in English. Cardinals: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, or 100, 101, or 101, 135, or 135, 200, 1,000, or 1,000, 1,001, or 1,001, 1,100, or 1,100, or 1,100, 1,157, or 1,157, or 1,157, 2,000, 100,000, or 100,000, 341,771, a million, or 1,000,000, 3,533. Ordinals: the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, the 16th, the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, the 30th, the 40th, the 50th, the 60th, the 70th, the 80th, the 90th, the 100th, the 101st, the 135th, the 200th, the 1000th, the 1001st, the 1100th, or the 1100th, the 1157th, or the 1157th, the 2000th, the 100,000th, the 341,771st, the millionth, the 1,000,000th, the 3,533rd. Notice that with a few exceptions, the ordinals are made by adding th to the cardinals. Examples: the 13th, the 11th,